A challenge for any development team is allocating the time and resources to the right things for a game. Other than the obvious performance and stability tweaks, I'm talking about new mechanics or something that could increase the game's longevity and overall enjoyability, but at a low cost and time. These things aren't always obvious and sometimes sound too good to be true. I believe I have some on this list. Here are 10 things Deep Rock should consider for their overall longevity. Another use for matrix cores via mission selection console, resulting in more matrix cores being given as you would be able to use them for other purposes. Add this animation to the mission selection console and insert a blank matrix core. Now you can customize your mission, add low gravity or rich atmosphere, but the requirement would be that with anything added, a warning type would be added as well. So as you add a positive modifier, you have to choose from a selection of negative modifiers. And if the mission has a warning, you would now be adding a double warning. You also should have the option to spend all of these wasted plants to have a custom beer in the mission. It would override any beer that you have in the space rig. I would suggest charging a lot because people have a lot of these things and they're easy to obtain. So one could easily set up a rich atmosphere, double warning with a Red Rock Blaster, for example. There would likely be some rules around double XP or no double XP at all. But the idea of earning more matrix cores on the regular and being able to customize a mission to make it more fun or rewarding is a great endgame for Deep Rock Galactic. I feel like it's actually missing in the game and needs to be added, especially because as a new person in the game, you want overclocks, you want matrix cores. And as a vet in this game, I have nothing to spend them on, where I could now easily spend one and set up the whole team for a great mission. If you agree, then like this video, and if you don't, then dislike it. There are a few here that are bundled together, but it would make such a difference in this game. Firstly, add damage dealt to the mission completion screen. I think the entire community would appreciate this. Then add the choice to lock your resupplies. This may result in less people getting kicked overall. Only the host can call them in by choice if they wish to use that function. Although I would suggest a way to vote or request a resupply. I know on console these things are tough controller mapping wise, but when you hold left bumper for your terrain tool, the rest of the buttons could technically now do different things, just like the waypoint feature being X or square on console. You could have a wheel where Y and B or other buttons now request for resupplies or maybe vote to kick or whatever else works here. You could also choose to lock your own individual ammo so nobody can take it, and unlock it in case you're giving it away to friends with maybe a call out or something to let people know, hey, you can take my ammo. The last part is take it or leave it, but honestly being able to lock your resupplies would go a long way. But not having to worry about randoms just calling down as many resupplies as they want would be awesome. The option for a loadout resupply to be called, so anyone can go in and change their loadouts mid-mission. This could make a huge difference on strategies for elite deep dives, and maybe even open up the idea of an even deeper dive, where you have to switch loadouts in order to prevail. This opens up new levels of difficulties and potential for the game. This would maybe cost like 100 gold and maybe half of the normal nitra, so you could still call down a loadout supply and maybe get like 25% instead of the usual 50% from it. Number 4. Equipment overclocks. I'm thinking 2 per. An example is for the Scout's flares. Both overclocks would allow you to send out a ping from every active flare. That ping would highlight either all of the minerals within that ping's radius, or all of the enemies within that radius, based on what overclock you choose. They technically don't even have to be overclocks, they could just be 2 points. So one could choose minerals or highlight all the enemies for a short amount of time. This doesn't break the game and it would help the team out greatly. For the engineer, I would consider something akin to allowing the turrets to be built on Doretta, and the other option to be able to build a smaller single turret on your shoulder. It would likely do a lot less damage, but maybe stun or electrocute targets nearby at close range only. All of these ideas can be changed. It's really just a point of having something maybe extra for your equipment. Maybe the gunner has the option to sacrifice all 4 bubble shields for one giant one that lasts for the equivalent of all 4. Again, these are just options I'm thinking of, but the whole idea is having some sort of overclock or something to take your equipment to the next level. Number 5.
Nobody tosses a dwarf.
This one is simple and honestly just fits. If it was possible to press a button, on console it would have to be B, as tapping B does nothing. You could actually throw a dwarf. It wouldn't be anything fancy, just straight up in the air, and it has to be reciprocated by the other dwarf by also pressing B at the same time to lock hands. But this not only would be super fun, it would also have its uses and serve the overall co-op aspect of the game. Imagine pressing B to grab your teammate and then B again to throw them straight up into the air, and another Dwarf being able to press B and catch them, pulling them up to an area. Would it be difficult? Yes, maybe even dangerous for fall damage, but it's not meant to replace the traversal tools, it's meant for fun. The Golden Pickaxe. This one is only on the list because of how incredibly easy it would be to add to the game. The way it would work is there would be an extremely rare chance to find a golden pickaxe. And with this item, if you pick it up, you can no longer use anything else until you drop it, except for the X button for zip lines. When you're holding it, it's as if you have the Berserker perk or those canisters from the core side events that allow you to pickaxe charge really quickly. But even more powerful and only for a limited amount of swings. You pick it up, you go smash things until it disappears. Simple, fun, and easy to add to the game. Number 7, Legacy Perks. These would be very low level perks that only high level players get, and they only kick in for very specific reasons. Helping greenbeards, thus promoting helping out newbies in this game, which I know a lot of graybeards do anyways. What I mean is, if I'm playing with somebody under level 20 or 50, then maybe I can revive them like 5% faster or something really small. I know it's a tiny thing, but it would better serve the community and promote helping out newbies more often. It doesn't even have to be my revive example, just something to help out, but only when playing with new people. Another option is, I've often wondered if they should add a hazard 6 with maybe hazard 6 perks that only kick in for hazard 6. That way it wouldn't throw off the balancing of the rest of the game. It could just be a third category only for hazard 6 missions or something like that. It's not extremely important or anything, but for the people like myself that have been playing forever, it's nice to have that little extra. This one here should actually be higher on the list. I sincerely believe it's extremely important, but it's harder to make and it would take a lot more time, so that's why it's number 8. But to me, it's more important than a lot on this list. And this is space rig customization, but not in the way it sounds. I'm not talking free reign here. It's basically two things. One being the color scheme, starting with rusted. As you level up, you obtain different color schemes. And the second being more in tune with why dwarves want these minerals in the first place. This would be a way to show off what you have, but you would actually lose the minerals when you do it. You would go up to several places in the rig and choose to spend a resource of your choice on a chest or statue. The chest would slowly fill to the point where it's overflowing with that mineral choice, and then it's maxed and you don't get it back. And what's in the chest will reflect literally on what you're spending on it. It could be just Bismore or just gold or both. The statue is very interesting. And when I say statue, I don't mean like a literal statue of ourselves. I'm just using the term. It could be piles of gold nuggets or whatever on the floor. It would basically be what you choose, right? It could literally be a giant Jadis or some sort of statue made of Wiener Pearl or whatever that you want to spend it on. I'm even okay if it's literally just piles of floor loot. You might be wondering why this is so important to be on this list, and why I think it should be even higher on the priority level for Deep Rock's overall longevity. It's because all of these resources are the basic function of the game. Once you have the weapons, upgrades, and cosmetics you want, there's really no point to them other than prestiging over and over. And I think this is taking away from what I once loved to do, just looking for minerals, and picking a specific mission type just for those minerals. The devs can't just keep making mustaches forever, although I'm sure they would accept that challenge and do me proud. But by making extremely expensive space rig cosmetics that you can dump your minerals into in order to fill up more and more of the space rig, I believe this to be an excellent way for any player to spend their time. There are far too many graybeards out there with millions of resources and nothing to spend it on. It actually makes it so we don't even want to get everything in these caves anymore because there's just no point. This is where you get people pushing the drop pod button while the host is on the ceiling trying to get Jadis for an upgrade. Not to mention that the devs are always going to be stuck trying to make new things for you to spend these resources on, and it's just an endless battle. I mean, look at how long it takes to make new weapon overclocks versus how long it takes to get them. Don't get me wrong, I'm appreciative of anything new that they put out, but you will inevitably reach a point where it's just pointless to get a lot of minerals, and I see that in most of the games I play. People just running past all the minerals because they don't really care about them. They've got everything they needed, and if they need anything, they'll go get it specifically. Well, if you make these statues extremely expensive, then there will be plenty of motivation to go and find the mineral that they need. I think once you account for all the different types of statues which should increase in size based on how much you keep dumping into them, and chests with every variation of mineral in them, and even the colored piles of floor loot, that this provides a whole lot of grinding for any player, so that even the millionaires in this game can't just max everything out immediately. And although the money is spent once you've done it, you should always be able to change that statue or mineral and store the one that you've already placed. That way you can always move things around and change color schemes. This is something that I think the game could really use, considering that in dwarven fantasy lore, these guys love their shinies. Their homes are always almost full of gold and treasures. I'm just saying, imagine visiting a level 3000 space rig and it looks like Erebor from The Hobbit. A wave-based testing mode with leaderboards. I actually think this would be a big hit and not that hard to make considering it doesn't have to look good at all. You don't even have to get experience from it. Literally just a console where you load into a small area surrounded by bedrock where you have unlimited resupplies and waves start coming. This would be great for testing co-op gameplay and different builds, and even just seeing how many waves one could do and comparing theirs on the leaderboard would be incredibly fun. You could do easy, medium, hard, but it would have to be a really small area as to not break the game with some of the higher wave levels. Just imagine a higher difficulty wave where 2 detonators and a dreadnought spawns at once, or a literal army of Mactera with a dread. It definitely could get crazy in the higher levels, but I personally would be addicted to this. Number 10, archived deep dives. So you can always go back and run a specific dive that you really enjoyed. I don't even care if you get less experience for it, I would do this. There are just some specific dives that were incredibly fun and unique, and it'd be cool to play them again. I could probably go on forever as there's lots of things I didn't include in this video, and try and keep in mind that some of my examples are just that, they're just examples. I don't really care about the turret on the shoulder or building the turrets on Doretta or anything. I can think of a lot of other things. It's more about elevating the equipment with some new overclocks, or having more functions to the blank matrix cores. The actual details themselves can be anything. Again, this could be a list of 20 easily, and maybe I'll put some others in the comments. What would you pick on this list in your order? Like 2, 8, then 1? And what ideas do you have for the game? Let me know in the comments.